Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Jeff Renan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Joseph Lepore, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershon, Sixth Ward.
Alicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson and Danielle Strauch, attorneys for the town.
John Basley, Town Supervisor. Tonight's agenda, before we start the agenda, we have a proclamation that we would like to present to Arlington student government. The last couple of years, Arlington student government has been holding a senior prom for our seniors at our senior center located on South Road. They do a phenomenal job every year, and if you go there, it's truly an enjoyable experience to watch the interaction. These kids are doing this because they enjoy it. You go around, the care, you can tell that nobody is forced to be there. Their teachers may say they're forced, but they really enjoy it. And every year the seniors have nothing but good things to say about them. So I thought it was time that we should get up and actually recognize these students for taking time out of their schedule. They put the whole prom together. They arranged the prom. They arranged the music for the prom. They come in, they serve to the seniors. They actually arranged to even have the food donated for the prom. So the whole thing is put on for the seniors at no cost through the student government in Arlington. So tonight we have a proclamation. Can we have the student government and Mrs. Wagner, Mrs. Bellino come up so we can present this to them? And then Joe and Jeff, you want to come out because you're the members of the Recreation Committee? Whereas the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie, on behalf of the Town of Poughkeepsie and all residents of the Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby salute the Arlington High School student government and recognizing their outstanding performance for organizing and running the Town of Poughkeepsie Senior Center Senior Prom this year on April 21st, 2017. Whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie recognizes them as role models and is proud to honor the Arlington High School student government, which they have showed positive attitude and service, and for demonstrating generations working together. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby enthusiastically proclaim its commendation and extends its congratulations on their accomplishment of this honor. Be it further resolved, an original signed proclamation be forwarded under the Great Seal of Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, State of New York, to Arlington High School student government. Congratulations. This is on behalf of the town for you guys. And this is the third year, I think, you've been there. You have done a phenomenal job. I don't know if you've been in charge all 3 years, but you guys have done a great job. Really, congratulations. This part is done.
Do you mind if we take a picture?
Yeah.
Picture? Great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna leave you no one behind. I'm gonna leave you no one behind. Going forth with tonight's meeting, we have 5 public hearings. Public hearing number 1 is a Town Code Amendment, Chapter 195, truck weight and lengths in the Hamburg. Public hearing number 2, Town Code Amendments, Chapter 139, noise. Public hearing number 3, Town Code Amendment, Chapter 195, no left turn in the Hamburg. Public hearing number 4, unsafe building, 31 DeRocher Terrace. Public hearing number 5, unsafe building, 59 Oakdale Avenue. With that being said, I'd like to have a motion to open public hearing number 1.
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing number 1 is weight and length amendments to the Hamburg. Is there anybody to speak in reference to the truck length and weights in the Hamburg? We asked everybody with the multiple public hearings to please try to keep it to 3 minutes. Pam or Susan, whoever would like to come first.
Actually, I'll do my best to keep it short. It has to do with it's related to truck weight and length, because basically what I've done is go back and looked at the resolution that you guys have before that you want to vote on, and I went back to the original court stipulations. And there are a number of questions within that came up between looking at the stipulation, looking at the resolution, and I think I'd like to put those questions, those issues before you, and I think it's something that most likely fellow New Hamburg residents would want to have answered prior to you guys voting on these resolutions. And just to put myself, I live at 9 Conklin Street in New Hamburg. I've lived there for over 20 years. A few things. The first one, from page 6 of the court stipulation, it actually says in the stipulation, the town's proposed local laws shall also amend the no standing regulations currently in effect such that the hours during which standing is prohibited coordinates with the schedule of operation in order to ensure pedestrian safety. Now, in this resolution that you guys have put forward, I see nothing in there about no standing. So that is a big issue within New Hamburg, because as we all remember, 2-3 years ago, prior to you guys voting this in, we had 15 tractor trailers waiting in line with their engines running, waiting to get into the terminal. So this needs to be addressed. Also, a big concern of mine, which is in the resolution, concerns that town supervisor can override the schedule if it's determined that it's an emergency. So a couple things there. One, what determines an emergency? Okay? I mean, basically, it literally says in the stipulation, and also says in the resolution, literally some representative from Bottini or New Hamburg Terminal, whatever you want to call it, can directly call the town supervisor at any time of the day or night. And if town supervisor is not available, he needs to leave a designated person who can be called. What constitutes an emergency? And what is the backup for determining what is an emergency? Is it just somebody on the phone saying, got to get in there, okay, give me the okay, great, thanks? Or is there going to be a paper trail on that? Because whatever is associated with this, I think, needs to be foilable. This is public discourse, and if a year from now, after this is done, people in New Hamburg want to go and see, well, what were all those emergencies? There better be something to look at, rather than, well, it was all on the telephone. That will be highly suspicious. Also, in regard to, well, actually, I'll keep it, I can do this all right now, or I can be back up here about noise. You tell me whether you want to do it in order. If you
Do it in
want
order, Pam.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll keep it at that for now, and I'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, if you want to answer these questions now, or by the end of this, if you can get back to us about when you will be able to answer them, but I think they need to be answered before you guys vote on this resolution.
Pam, our position is, and I think we're probably all on board, we'll take in all the information that you give us, everything you've addressed, and we will address it, and we will get back to you.
Prior to voting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Barbara?
But before you begin, Mr. Supervisor, people are speaking to each of the public hearings, so there'll be 3 separate hearings.
Yep.
Is it the board's intention to consider the comments at each of the public hearings as to each of the local laws, to the extent that there's perhaps an overlap?
I think we'll look at the whole thing. We want to keep them so we can keep them in check to their questions to the actual local law.
Okay.
So I think we should keep them as close as possible so she can come back up so we can put it back
Fine.
in there so we don't miss anything.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Susan Barbarisi. I live on the corner of Point and Division in New Hamburg and have for 29 years. I am trying to understand from the information that we've gotten, and I'm not sure that I have all of it. In fact, I'm very sure I don't have all of it. But in looking at when the trucks are allowed to go through the hamlet, I am looking at something that it looks like a 50-foot truck weighing 5 tons, which I'm assuming is an 18-wheeler. I hope I'm correct with that. it talks about going from Reed Road to Stone Street, so crossing the, what we call the White Bridge or the Northern Bridge over the tracks, and is here referred to the Reed Street Bridge. And my concern there is, my understanding from several years ago is that that bridge is badly in need of repair and is on a
You are
list
correct.
somewhere. I'm sorry.
You are correct. There's a misunderstanding, Susan. Where the line is, and allow them to go over that line, so they can't use that bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is wonderful, because that was my particular concern. But, so, I'm sorry, so when you say the line, may I ask what that means?
Yeah, it was confusing. So where it says terminus to the side, it's everything between Stone Street and the two bridges. That locks in the time frame that they can't go across that line. That's why we didn't have to list all the streets in the Hamburg, because they're not allowed to cross that line during the hours that they're not allowed there. Instead of
Okay,
naming every street they couldn't drive on, that names, it says the terminus, it sounds a little confusing, but it's between Stone Street and the bridge itself. They can't cross that line to go into there. It's, don't get me wrong, it's not the easiest thing to read. I read it a few times over. But
Okay.
that's what it's in reference to.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
We're
just,
not, I'm not going to answer most of them, but that's a very confusing question, so, yeah.
okay, and my concern is about the use of
Yeah.
that bridge. And this isn't, any chance of knowing when it might be, that bridge might, the repairs might be done?
No, no.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barbarisi, and anybody else, there are copies there on the dais of a map and showing where the proposed signage. Sure, I mean, sure, of course, that's what they're there for.
Hello, my name is Maureen Brown. I live at 21 Main Street, New Hamburg, New York. My question, I've been teaching CDL instruction for 30 years. And in reading some of the material, I noticed that the way that it's phrased is local law. CDLs are not local law. It's not a car. It's a CDL truck. So I was wondering if you took in consideration that the trucks are CDL vehicles and are also hazardous material that is being transported. So I was wondering whether or not that came into your process when this was looked at, when the proposals came through. I've been in Florida for a couple of months, so I wasn't here for the last couple of meetings, but have been attending these meetings until I went to Florida.
Maureen, we'll go through all this, and we'll get all the information we have, and we'll get back to you on answers to all these. It's basically us to take your input, to find out what you have, and then get you all the answers back.
Okay. Thank you.
Who else would like to speak on this public hearing? If not, make a motion to adjourn this public hearing until first meeting in July.
Right, and that's,
Set a date or?
well, it'd be a good idea to have on the record what the date is.
It's July 5th.
July 5th.
Second.
And we'll use that to get back all the information in reference to that, so we can get you any answers, if there's any changes, we can make changes on that one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to open public hearing number 2, chapter 139 on noise. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody to discuss public hearing number 2 on noise? Pam?
Okay. So again, looking at the resolution, well, actually, I don't even think that I saw the resolution that y'all came up with in regard to noise, but going to the stipulation, on page 9 of the court stipulation, it says, Any town law may provide that noise emanating from vessels operating on the navigable waters of the state shall be of no greater decibel levels than that permitted to emanate from motor carriers from the adjoining property line. The town's local law shall provide that decibel levels measures from the adjoining property line shall not be measured from a property line under or adjacent to a navigable water of the state, but shall be measured from the nearest upland property line. So the question I have, and then I went into the town of Poughkeepsie noise prohibitions, into the laws that are there. And I guess what I'm looking for is for you to tell me, because I mean, basically, as far under unreasonable noise prohibited in town of Poughkeepsie laws. No person shall make or continue or cause or permit to be made or continued any unreasonable noise. And then it says, while decibel readings provide presumptive evidence of unreasonable noise pursuant to paragraph 139.5C, which actually had to do with air conditioning, a decibel reading is not required to prove a violation of this chapter. So in town of Poughkeepsie's laws, it's basically saying you can, I mean, the things that are needed to prove unreasonable noise are not hinged on decibel levels. Yet, in the stipulation, it particularly no greater decibel levels than that permitted to emanate from motor carriers. So am I missing something? Is there something in the town of Poughkeepsie laws that particularly pertains to motor carriers so that we in New Hamburg can establish a decibel level? At which point, when the carriers, when the barges come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and start offloading and making a ton of noise and waking people up, that we can call the town of Poughkeepsie police and find them in violation. Because as far as I'm reading this, the stipulation, we actually do have rights. We still have rights in regard to violation of local noise laws. And so I would like clarification on this. I would like to know what the decibel level is, or I would like to know, do the local laws pertain, which really have more to do with describing the periods in time, because noise occurs at night between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. That's viewed as unreasonable noise. Well, we have major barges coming in literally all night long and offloading. So right then and there, they're in violation. The noise intrudes into a residential district or an area with sleeping facilities, including residences, apartments. Well, that's us. So that would make one think that the noise that is coming from the barges in the middle of the night would still be illegal, and that we could call the police. The duration of the noise is prolonged rather than short. Again, it's going on all night long for hours at a time. If it's saying local laws are established and local laws are still in place, that we will still be able to call the town of Poughkeepsie police, and they will come and they will fine the barges, because according to town of Poughkeepsie law, the first violation of this chapter shall be punished by a fine of up to $1,000. Second violation within 12 months after first violation will be punished by a fine of not less than $1,000 and up to $1,500. Further violations within 12 months will be not less than $1,500 and up to $2,500. So I would like real clarification vis-a-vis the court stipulation as to what these noise laws are. If they are per the town of Poughkeepsie's laws that are currently on the books, then they should be in place, and we should be able to call the town of Poughkeepsie police, as we always have, and they should be able to come down, and they should be able to stop it, and they should be able to find the barges. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael Joyce, member of the New Hamburg Neighborhood Association, Act 18 indivisible. Recently, I wrote to the New York State Department of Transportation Noise Analysis Office that's charged with reviewing, quote, federal and state laws and regulations to develop appropriate NYSDOT policies and procedures to implement these regulations. The clerk has a copy of that interchange. I wrote to ask who we can contact to regulate the barge noise, which I think you're being flim-flammed into giving over responsibility for, since there's a sort of false measure going on here with motor vehicles as opposed to barges. Their environmental specialist wrote back saying, quote, they were not aware of any state or federal agency that does have jurisdiction over noise generated by boat traffic, saying further, local ordinances would most likely be the main source of regulation. The specialist also did suggest that we, quote, contact NYS, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to confirm that any changes to local ordinance follow proper procedure according to SECRA, something that, as I read tonight's agenda, you haven't done to date as a board. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else who'd like to discuss? Come on up, Andrew.
Hi, Andrea Sayago. I'm a resident of New Hamburg. I'm a member of the New Hamburg Neighborhood Association. And the question that I have about the new or revisions to the noise ordinance is that it appears that you're granting the pumps that are on the barge that offload the oil the status of a motor carrier. And I'm trying to understand why you're granting a machine, because the status of a vehicle, when you look at the law, the federal law that defines what constitutes a motor vehicle, the pumps on the barge do not meet that definition. And it's very simple, plain English. They don't. They're not motor vehicles. They are machines. They are not motor vehicles. So what I'm trying to understand, and I would like some clarification provided as to why all of you are granting a machine the status of a motor vehicle that is entitled to protections under the law that ordinary machines like lawn mowers or a sump pump in a house or whatever, a pump on a boat, they don't get those protections under the law. They don't get that classification. So I want to understand why a pump on a boat is being classified as a motor vehicle, because it doesn't get that definitional treatment anywhere else that I can see under federal or state law. And that's my question related to
All right,
that.
thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else would like to discuss this public hearing? If not, make a motion to adjourn this public hearing on July 5th. We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to open the third public hearing, Town Code, Chapter 195, no left turn on Main Street in New Hamburg.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody who'd like to discuss this public hearing? Pam?
Okay, two questions. Well, one question, one issue. One is, what left-hand turn are we discussing? We're all trying to figure out what y'all are talking about.
Right
So-
across from Becker's house, the triangle.
Right?
If you're coming out of the train station, they just don't want people to make a left turn to go back down to go over the bridge.
It's on that map too, if you want to
Oh,
get
so
the
you're
map
talking
there.
about people coming up from the train, not
Yeah.
being able to make a left-hand
Yeah.
turn?
Yeah,
Trying to make that left.
yeah.
Oh, that's not, I don't know, I guess it's an issue, I don't know. Okay. I have one thing that's related to, it's a sign-related thing, so, and I just want to get it out there, because again, it comes from the court stipulation, and I think it's a big concern for all of us. Because first it's this sign and it may be another sign, which is from page 10 of the court stipulation. It says, "The town will also evaluate the existing street signage and further evaluate whether certain traffic improvement measures should be adopted in the interest of promoting public safety and safe traffic flow, including whether certain stop intersections and stop signs now in existence should be modified or converted to yield signs so as to facilitate the flow of truck traffic and reduce noise associated with stopping and starting at certain stop sign locations." So I think, although we have not conferred, I think I speak for most New Hamburg residents, there are very few stop signs that are literally in New Hamburg. There was one on Bridge Street, right after the bridge. Four-way stop sign, and then there's that stop sign right after the bridge. That is, I would like to start calling it the Louisa Hochberg Memorial Bridge, Memorial Stop Sign, because it was Louisa Hochberg who got in touch with the town of Poughkeepsie because her house was right after that bridge, right after that intersection. And she petitioned the town board to have that stop sign put in because it was teenagers who were driving too fast over that bridge, and she was raising 3 kids, and she wanted to slow them down, okay? And you know how this town feels about Louisa Hochberg. And then there are there's a stop sign at Division and Stone, and then there's 2 stop signs, sort of the other ones at the intersection there. None of those stop signs needs to be a yield sign. There is not a single stop sign that is in New Hamburg that needs to be a yield sign. And I just want to go on record, and I think everyone from New Hamburg would support me, is that Louisa Hochberg's stop sign has to stay in place. Because as it is already, when those Bettini trucks start from a standing start at the intersection and they are accelerating, and the bridge is at a bit of a incline, and they're gunning it to get up, to get speed, and they come over it, and as it is, a lot of them do the, running, what do they call it?
Rolling.
Basically go through it. And the fact is, that area, that's the center of town. And that's where a lot of kids are. That's where the bus stops were, everything. And they're coming up and over that, and they're coming right into the heart of town. And as it is, even with that stop sign in place, they're going too fast. And if that sign turns into a yield, or God forbid they get rid of it, it's going to be a matter of time. It is simply going to be a matter of time before somebody ends up in the hospital or somebody ends up dead. There is no reason ever to remove or change any single stop sign that is in New Hamburg to a yield or to get rid of it. And that's it.
Is there anybody else that would like to address this public hearing?
If there's one right on the way, I'm gonna confuse it. Come across one right here. This one coming into the town. What about coming out? And one coming.
My name is Joanna Gugliaro, and I live at 21 Main Street, New Hamburg. I just want to say that I've been living there for about 30 years now, and I need those stop signs. As everybody knows in New Hamburg, I am constantly walking dogs, and that stop sign is very important to me because my dog comes down Stone Street, and he's like a little fast, and he likes to go down those stairs that are over there. And even with the stop sign, a lot of times cars or trucks, they roll through it, and I have to be very careful with them. And I need a stop sign, not a yield sign. And it's just for public safety. And, I do not want to get hit by a car. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address this public hearing? Andrew?
Hi. I just want to echo the sentiments of my neighbors that the stop signs that are in existence really can't be changed. All of them, the ones that are on the intersection of Bridge and Stone Street, the ones that are at the intersection of Point and Main. Personally, the reason why I want them, I have 2 little boys. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I don't know about you guys, but my little boys like to get out there and play. They like to run around, and I really need those stop signs to be there because as it is right now, cars roll through. And if it's a yield and not a stop, they're not going to roll, they're going to run. And it's too dangerous. And really, I implore all of you, please do not change any of those stop signs. They really need to stay the way they are. It's necessary not only for my kids' safety, but for my neighbors' safety, all of our safety. And that's it. And then I have a question. I don't know whether this is the right instance to ask the question about that is not part of the three that we talked about that are at issue today. It's the no standing rule that was put into effect back in 2015, and whether or not that no standing law is going to remain on the books and then put up
That's-
signs and enforce.
Shouldn't answer, but Andrew, that's not even a discussion.
Well, no, the reason why I ask is
Yeah,
because the
it's not.
stipulation, okay, it's not, I just want to make sure
Yeah,
we have
that-
assurances
yeah.
that the no standing is going to remain in
Yeah,
effect.
that's not in discussion at this time at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not that you
Well,
can't
no,
say,
but
but it's
I'm-
not. It's not.
Are the signs going to go up, and that's going to be part of the enforcement that's going to go into?
Signs will go up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're just looking at the word and the right way to put them up, but that's
Okay.
not changing.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else that'd like to discuss this public hearing? If not, make a motion to adjourn this public hearing to July 5th.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Nelson?
Mr. Supervisor, as we discussed earlier, you and I, but not the whole board, the fact is that seeker is in front of this board, and you've been through seeker several times in several matters. And so, without meaning to be preaching, we obviously know that we have to do seeker before any substantive discussion, not discussion, but before there can be any substantive determination on these three matters that are in front of you. And before this comes to a closure, there does need to be discussion about the emergency policy, which is part of the stipulation, and the local waterfront review policy. As was also mentioned here, the STIP does call for consideration of standing rules and signage and other traffic signage. The board has copies of the environmental assessment form that was adopted at the last meeting. The Part 1 was adopted at the last meeting, and there's an attachment to that which has a recitation of the history that brings us to the point where we are tonight. This board took the position that the approval and the execution of that so-ordered stipulation was not something which was subject to seeker. Your position was that it was a type 2 action. But notwithstanding that, people have mentioned it tonight, and it's probably a good idea to take a look at it again, because things that are in that stipulation, there are benefits and there are burdens. And those things, although they are not the subject of this seeker, you may find that they bear on the decisions you're going to make about seeker for this signage and weights. And then the final thing is we certainly can discuss seeker, as attorney with client anytime you'd like. That's it. Thanks.
That's it.
We're adjourning these, Jim, to July 5th. Are we going to have enough time for the seeker part to do that?
Well, seeker has to be completed before a substantive determination is made. And so my hope is that it could be done by then. But I know that this board will make sure that it finishes seeker before it closes this public hearing.
Yeah, Bill, we do not have
Pardon
to
me,
vote on
before
July
moving to
5th. We can always,
determination.
if we're not done, we can go out further. Yeah,
Right.
we're not setting a date that we have to vote that night. It's a date that we reopen the public hearing. If we're not ready to finalize anything, we don't
It's
finalize.
another chance for people to come and speak to
Yep.
us.
And between now and then, it's a chance to look at all the issues that were addressed tonight and bring the issues up and address the issues with the residents on a one-on-one. If anybody else has any other, as you go by and you're thinking more, as you read into this more, can either email myself or Jeff or any board member or call and we'll have a conversation. You know, the door is open for conversation, and there's quite a few things that were brought up tonight. Some of them we've looked at, some of them we haven't yet. So we will look at it. Feel free to call us between now and July, and we will definitely talk to anybody that calls. Anything you get, you want to send it, either email it to any one of us come here and drop it. We will look at anything that you are addressing.
Jay, I'd just like to see what's the schedule for the police department patrolling the area, because it seems that, you know, the stop sign is, it's an issue, so if there is a schedule, I'm not sure if there is one, and if there isn't one, can we ask the chief to implement maybe
We can call traffic and have Mel go back down there.
because, you know,
No,
I mean, that, it's a concern.
no, it's a concern, and with the commuter traffic and all the traffic down there, it's a legit concern. It's a very legit concern.
So maybe we can put a patrol there just to monitor this stuff?
I'll make it, I'll call the traffic division in the morning, and they can go back down.
Okay.
They've been going down early. They're not always down there late, but they're down there sometimes early in the morning between shifts because it's rush hour, but they're not always down there at all times. But I will call them in the morning, and we'll get them back down there again, because he has no problem giving out tickets down there at all. All day. Rush hour is part of it, but during the day, people running back and forth to the mall, not necessarily always on the Hamburg side, but down by the playground down there, it's been an issue, and they have no trouble at all writing tickets. If you don't see them there, sometimes they may be on the other end of Channingville. Up the other end, a lot of it's the same traffic, so they're not necessarily down by the playground. You may see them up by the apartments on the other end, but they do hit that area pretty heavy. The state police hit it also besides us. So, but we'll call and tell, you know, traffic to get back down there again. Make sure they hit them heavy again, because it is summertime coming in the Little League and everybody's playing down there.
And Jay, my second question was about, and I'm not sure the answer for this, but the noise of barges. Is the Coast Guard any in charge of that? If there are other
We're going to have to
barges?
look into it. I don't know that answer, Joe.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We're going to look further into that part.
Just to get myself
Okay.
educated.
You all, now, public hearing number 4. I'd like to open that, 31 DeRocher Terrace. On that one? Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Sishan?
Take us a couple minutes to get set up.
Flying all over, I don't know where it came from.
No, can't do. I can get a fourth Hawaii and got a lot of money. I don't know. He asked me if I went to Hawaii. I says, no, I haven't.
Smart. Mike, you didn't check. Thank you note. Thank you. Yeah, it's from Honolulu.
Right. Find out.
Remind me to show you. Okay, ask a question after.
Pardon me. Ms. Salvatore? Ma'am? Copy of the map and the sample sign part of the record from those public hearings.
I don't have a copy, but I will make it a
Okay, thank you.
My name is Wayne Seashon, Deputy Building Inspector for the town of Poughkeepsie. This property, 31 DeRocher, back in December, right after Christmas 2015, had a devastating fire. Unfortunately, the owner perished within the fire. Obviously, the immediate family was contacted. The unit was boarded up where it could be, and it's basically sat. We received a complaint in the beginning of this year, February, about the property and how unsafe it is. So what you're seeing is going to be a pictorial over dates of what we found. This is what it looked like when I arrived. Clearly, it's not habitable. Nobody's been in there for more than a year. There's access areas open to the public. They did do some boarding, as you can see, and some locking up. Gas and the electric terminated. But this is where it really begins. It's a total gut of the entire structure. The fact that it's still standing is amazing to me. As you can see, there were some access points where people tried to get in, did get in. I'm not sure which, but as you can see, they had their ladders in place. As you can tell just from the angle, let's go back one. You see the condition of the floor level. We're definitely dipping, and it's only a matter of time before this is on the ground, and I can't tell you, it should have been on the ground long before now. So there are locations even there in the back that you can't see from the street that are open and accessible. Front side of the house, it's the same. They took some effort to close it off, but it just hasn't gotten any better. So we continue to monitor and move forward in this. We've sent orders on the property, posted it where it needed to be posted. Closing in this year just to follow up in May of where we stood with this, because by then, all the orders that we had on site were expired at that point, without any resulting compliance. Google Earth, aerial view. And you can see some of and even though it's kind of distorted in the picture, you can see where the roofs are starting to fail just from up on top as well. Literally a very short amount of time before this whole thing's on the ground. Can't be used for its lawful purposes. Open at the windows and doors, unfit for human occupancy. Attractive nuisance, which is the one that really gets us. It's clearly a hazard just to remain there. Questions?
Those two cars in the driveway with the covers over, do they belong to the owner?
Yes. I sat with the daughter about a week and a half ago. She came to town. We got her address straightened out and all those kinds of things. Her tone to me was basically that she didn't have any money to be able to do anything with it. to include take it down. She's inquired, and I know that there were at least 2 phone calls that came to my office about contractors and, you know, what they were submitting to her to take the building down. All of them exceeded the $29,000 to $30,000 range to drop the building and take it away.
Is there an insurance policy on the house?
Joe, before we discuss, we let the public talk first, and then we can ask. Wayne, we'll let anybody in the public like to discuss this public hearing first? Come right up. Then we'll ask our questions with the public. And then maybe Wayne can answer their questions. Yep.
Gail Greco, 54 Droser Terrace. I am living 18 years. We're waiting 2.5 years for this to be torn down. Nothing's been done. We have lots of kids that run around. You know, we walk the street, we see this every day. When is this gonna happen? What are we waiting for? Until someone gets hurt? Kid running around? What, we're just gonna let it collapse? What's the town gonna do? What are we waiting for?
We're going to take it down. There's a process. He has to notify
This is
first of all.
enough.
I
2.5
absolutely
years.
agree. That's why he's here. See,
You know?
it was December 2015.
Someone had to come up, you know, beginning of this year to complain. This should have been done by the town without somebody complaining. So it should have came down instead of having to go to the board. I don't really get it, you know? We're gonna wait until people are hurt?
We're
And then
not
who do we
waiting.
go after?
Ma'am, we're not waiting. This is why we're doing it. It's been a year and a half. It was December
I'd like to hear a
2015.
tentative date tonight.
Yes, and we're.
Tonight.
He has to set a date. We had to contact the
Yes.
owner who did not live in this end of the country.
Okay.
So we can't just go
Soon
take
as
someone's house.
possible.
And we are gonna work on it. That's why.
All the neighbors back here, we've all been waiting, all of
And
us.
I agree. And I got a call
Not
from
just
one,
me.
I got a call from one of your neighbors, and I called Wayne a month or so ago. She used to work for the town, and she asked us to do it, and Wayne went back over and said, we can't wait any longer. Tell the homeowner we're gonna take it down. We're not
Yes,
waiting.
thank you.
Because
Thank you
there was
very
another
much.
family member somewhere in the neighborhood there
Yes,
that wants
two.
has no interest.
An uncle and a son sitting right there where all his cars parked.
Yeah, has no
in the
interest in
driveway.
it. So he had to contact whoever the executor was, who happens to be
The sister,
the
yes.
sister.
We all know
So he
the
had an
story.
issue, so we are gonna.
heard the story.
We are
We
gonna
know
go
the story.
forward, because I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be sitting there any longer.
No.
So the process is get it moving, because obviously she's not gonna take it
And
down.
the neighbors are sitting very close to the property line. I don't even know how they can even deal with it, how they dealt with this, because I would have been here long time ago. I'm at the other end of the block. I'm speaking from the other end of the block. I would have been up here daily to see this taken down.
Well,
yeah.
hopefully this is the process, we will get it down.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to discuss this public hearing? Not, anybody from the board wanna discuss?
Hey,
Oh, come on right up.
Couple of questions was,
Wait, hold on.
oh.
Come on
No,
up, come on up.
you come first.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Is that my name? Thank you. Yes, good evening. I'm actually here as the son of the person that perished in the fire. I am not the legal owner of the property, but I am here to clearly make some comments to the board that the board will hopefully take into consideration. First of all, I'd like to thank the town of Poughkeepsie Fire Department for trying to save my father from a fire. I live actually at 31 DeRocher Terrace. I live actually on the street. I see this thing every single day, and I'm the first person that would like to have this house taken down, without a doubt, because this is something I have to deal with on a daily basis along with my family. I'd like to thank the police department, town building department for working with us. Within 48 hours, we had it boarded up after the fire. So as the board would know, the town building department asked us, and we had a company come right up and do that as soon as possible. My father was unable to basically walk in terms of dealing with the fire. We had to deal with not only a house that he lived in, but I grew up in that house as a teenager and in college. And now, again, I live across the street from this property. So, again, neither is it mine, yet I see it on a daily basis. Those vehicles are actually my vehicles. I park them because actually they've been vehicles that I've had for a bit, and I use that space. My sister allowed me to do that. Now, in terms of any claims regarding insurance, I can tell you right now that we like to have the town of Poughkeepsie know that due to circumstances with the insurance company, without naming the insurance company, losing 3 people during the process of actual funding for contents and demolition and value of the home, that was something that was beyond our control. I came back last summer, and again, it was not 2.5 years, it's been about a year and a half, and I came back last summer after taking care of personal business for family regarding the estate and myself in Poland, where I'm from. I found out about this. I went right with the insurance company, and they were right on it. And they took care of it. Unfortunately, winter hit. And after that, subsequently, with a certain reaction from the insurance company, my sister, unfortunately, being that it was winter, we couldn't proceed, and it wasn't resolved at that point. Again, like I stated earlier, I literally live across the home in question. I, above all residents on the street, have daily solemn issues related to this property. There is a demolition company on record with a contract pending now to do just that, demolish this tragic site. I've cut the grass, shoveled the snow, nurtured the flowers my mom worked on. The neighbors that had insurance issues have all been compensated. There's not one person that has not been compensated. I know that neighbors have stated non-appropriate comments. I would never repeat them in front of my young son. Some even making inappropriate comments about me praying on the property on a daily basis, which I do, based on my Roman Catholic Christian background. I hope the town understands that all plans do not happen as people want them to happen. I did not want my father, an immigrant as myself, looking for the American dream, wanting to end this way, as he did. And I understand the safety issues. With the demolition on board, I would like to ask that the town board takes all this into consideration and extends a brief, and I do mean brief, period of time to resolve this tragic event, which I will never be able to resolve, as compared to neighbors that actually have no connection to it, beyond the fact that it's a physical building. That was my father. And I ran over at 5:45 in the morning trying to rescue him, along with my wife and my sister, my niece and nephew, and my son. And we couldn't. So I appreciate all the services that the town has done to try to save him. But why it's still standing? I think it has a lot to do actually with the fact that my father and I actually built that extension that he passed away in. And the town was very amicable about making sure that whenever we needed permits, we took care of the permits. They were done in time. They were done exactly when they should have been done. And this will also be done. And I also share the concern of the neighbors. The fact is that it's been maintained the best that it can be at this point. And I would just like that the town takes everything into consideration in terms of a brief, and I mean brief, extension, having this taken care of, and it will be. And it's not because necessarily lack of funds. It's the fact that somebody lives on the other side of this country, and that's not something I have control over. And that person has been notified, and they've notified the town, as the gentleman had just presented to us. And we are looking at a contract that was given to the town in terms of having this taken care of. If you think I want this thing up more than anybody else that's behind me or lives on my street, I know you don't. I just feel that, unfortunately, like I said, things that you plan don't necessarily come out the way that they do, and this will be done in a timely fashion, appropriate to the town board and the town building inspector, and that will be done. Again, just a brief time period. That's all. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I'm terribly sorry for your loss, but how much time are you talking in this brief time period? Are we talking a couple of months? Do you have a contract? Do you know what date they're going to get started to take it down?
Okay, actually, my sister has a contract, and we're looking at maximum maybe 45, 60 days. So it's not, we're not asking for something.
You're not asking for another 6 months
Oh,
or half a year?
no,
Okay.
no way, no way, no way, not at all. And it actually goes in accordance roughly with the piece of paper that was put on the front of the door, except we just want to make sure that there isn't necessarily a particular time frame in terms of exactly this, but that's it. 45, 60 in terms of starting, and they said within 3 days, it would all be taken down. And again, I've maintained the property the best that I could, and I don't have to. I really don't. And I'm not doing it for her, quite frankly. I'm doing it for the sake of being a good son, I guess. And again, it's not mine, but nobody's ever complained about the grass being too high or the hedges not being cut or, debris going onto their land or not shoveling the driveway or not shoveling the walkway, even though nobody's walking there, but in front of the property, making sure that it's safe for anybody that walks by. And I've done that.
Well, sir, I don't know where we're going to go with this yet, but if you are given the allowance to move forward and wait up to 60 days, I would request that some fencing be put around the property so nobody can get into it. Some construction fencing, temporary, it's metal fencing, goes around the property. They always put it around a construction site. That would be something I'd have to have put up there because this building is very unsafe.
I was going to add to that, and in addition, what I recommend to do is put some no trespassing signs on the property. And if I was you, I would remove those 2 cars because people sometimes they see a burned house, they think that those homes belong to the house, and there's no ownership to the house, and they might damage or do something. So I would echo Mr. Sifone to put some construction fence and put no trespassing. And my question to Wayne is that total loss of the house?
Yes.
Yeah. I understand, and I'm sorry for your loss, sir, but, and we understand the resident concerned, but something should have been done since 4 months ago to put some kind of a fence or something that people would not go on the property. And I understand all the logistic and, knowing people and phone calls like that, but the way that house looks, very unsafe, and, anybody could go and maybe start another fire. So, I personally, I understand where you're coming from, but there should have something been done to remedy some of the issue, the way the house looks. And not to park 2 cars there. I mean, that seems to me, but uncalled for, but, again, sorry for your loss, and hopefully this can be resolved soon.
Mr. Lepore, I'd like to respond to you regarding the vehicles. The vehicles are actually insured and registered, so they are being covered, number one. Number two, I understand the concern about fencing that Mr. Sifone had just mentioned to me regarding that. If that's an issue, even though, again, legally, I'm not liable, but that's not really the issue here, I think, that I'm bringing. I'd be more than willing to make sure that if that's what the town requests, to have at least some type of structure up to prevent people from walking over there to give us that window of opportunity to go ahead with the company that's contracted. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, sir, you did receive a copy of that contract?
No, we didn't receive a copy of the contract, no.
Okay, there is a copy, and I'll make sure that you get it tomorrow.
That's fine.
So I thought it was actually emailed. I ended up getting it via an email.
My comment to this is.
Yes, sir.
It says must be commenced no later than 30 days. To me, it's commenced if you have a signed contract with a signed contract or take it down. It says must be commenced. If you have a signed contract where a guy's going to take it down, that's 30 days. If that's not here, we're going to have to go forward and do something because it's been almost 18 months. And I understand your loss. I feel sorry for your loss. But it says commenced within 30 days. To me, commenced doesn't mean the bulldozer has to be there. We need to have in our hand a contract from a signed contractor that he has the okay, whatever he needs to get started, so he can get started, so he can still get done within that time frame. You said 45 to 60 days?
Yes, sir.
This gives you to be completed no later than 60 days. So what you're saying to me is you're agreeing to what we have on this paper. Is basically what your sister would be agreeing to, because it says, must be commenced no later than 30 days from the service of this order and completed no later than 60. And it sounds to me, what you're telling me should fall in that time frame. So it's my opinion that we still pass this resolution and make sure Wayne gets the proper paperwork, so we don't have to come back and start this all over, so neighbors know if you don't complete it, we will complete it. So we know that we are working with you, and we're willing to work with you to get it done. But it's my opinion, we pass this resolution to let you know and let your sister know that we are going to do it one way or another. You guys say you have a contract. If that's the case, Wayne should have a contract in his hands from that contractor in the next couple of days, so we know this house is coming down.
Okay, Mr. Baisley, regarding the 30-day period that you're referring to, what I was asking for was a 45, 60-day period. And then that would just follow with just a simple 3-4 day according to the contractor. And I could forward the information regarding the contract tomorrow. That's what I'm asking for. I'm simply asking for a brief extension.
As I
You have a
said,
contract, if you have a signed contract already.
No, what I stated was that we have a contract, and I say we, my sister having a contract, that there's a bid that they've agreed upon, and now it's just in the form of signing off when she's going to be here, which should be here shortly, and she's going to be overseeing this. I'm not going to be overseeing this. This is not my property. I'm just making sure that it happens. That's one of the reasons why I'm here.
yeah, I'm still in favor of passing this till we make sure the ball is in our court so we can move forward. If it turns out she's a week behind, I think the residents will also understand that, but they want to see something done. And I agree, the house is in horrible condition. Kids are off for the summer. Again, it's not a good spot. And for us to take this and go back and rebid it and come back out another 30 days, that gives you like 90 to 100 days. So I'm more in favor.
90 to 100 days.
If we have to go back, if we don't approve this tonight, we have to start this process all over again. So we won't be back here until sometime in July. Now we're talking September, October timeframe. So it's my opinion that we should pass this tonight.
So basically, what you're stating on the letter that was put on the front of the home, the commencement is actually just a 30-day state of somebody saying, okay, we're going to go ahead and do this. But there's just a 60-day window of having it taken down, including the 30 days?
Correct, Wayne?
You have to start work 30 days from today. It has to
May
be
27th.
done
May 27th.
60 days from today.
Okay.
Well, no, it doesn't say you have to start work, you just have to have a contract. You have to be-
Yeah.
Commence.
You don't have to start tearing the piece of.
Yeah, you just have to have a
commence at
contract
30
in
days,
place.
Has to be done at 60 days. So you asked for 45 to 60, you have 60
You're in that window.
Okay, so it's 60 altogether, correct?
Yes.
total.
Total.
Yeah, but the
Okay.
contract that you say that, Wayne, it's no good with no signature, right? The one that that contract is relevant.
The contract means nothing until we have a
Another
demo
signature.
permit to associate with it. And I just want to reiterate one point on that. In your law, the way your law is structured for this, that when that 30-day window begins ticking, the building department has the ability to extend the time if there's real evidence and proof that this is truly moving forward.
Right.
So
Along with what I
that
stated.
we'll know.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going to know. The contract, the demo permit in place, insurances, talking to the demo contractor myself, those are the kinds of things that will prove out that, okay, you know what, it may be, they've begun the process And just because it's not down on the 30th day or the 31st day, if it looks like it's going down on the, 37th, 38th, the 40th day, that's when they're going to be on site to make the arrangements. As long as we have that progression moving forward, we will all be inside the guidelines of the law.
That's what we're looking for. We want it to move forward and make sure it gets done, and we're not sitting on this 6 months from now.
Correct.
No, I don't think anybody wants that. I don't think you want that.
No,
So-
I don't want it, sir. And if some type of structure needs to be put up in terms of just the fencing for the area that you had mentioned earlier, sir, I'd be more than willing to have that done.
Well,
I
the
have no problem
contract,
with that.
if you agree on the bid,
Yep.
and with the price, the contract will do that for you.
I'll make sure I do that within 48 hours.
My
I live across the street.
Yeah. My
So,
question, I have a
yeah.
question for you. What's the future for the property now? Are you going to rebuild a new house?
Not his house, Joe.
I mean, I know, probably you don't know the answer for this, but you would.
I do. I want nothing to do with it,
Okay.
based on how the tragic ending happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know what my sister plans on doing.
The reason I'm saying this is because if the property's empty, you have to make sure that you take care of the property as, cut the grass and maintain the property and make sure you have a construction fence again around the property. Because,
On an empty lot, according to what I believe Town of Poughkeepsie law is, I don't need a fence up. Just the lawn needs to be cut and maintained as any other neighbor.
And the site has to it has to be safed off. So
Right, that's what I mean.
typically, when they drop a building of this nature and everything gets carted away, there will be some filling and regrading to have a level field kind of thing. And then that could be grass seeded and
you
like
don't
that
need
to
a
be able to be
fence.
maintained.
okay.
And Wayne, that still comes under your control?
Yes.
So the 60-day thing, you have the ability to, we have a flood or a hurricane or something, you have the ability to temper justice with a little common sense here.
Correct.
But there has to be a firm date.
There's two things that go on, and I don't know where you're going, Jim, but with the council person, if we run into some kind of emergency that's clearly happening, with the town supervisor and the town ward person and a building inspector, you have the authority, the legal authority to be able to take it down now.
That's fine. So if something really bad happens, we can take it down the next day.
Correct.
So right now, when we pass this law, the end limit day is 60 days from this law.
From May 26th, well, you can
27th.
do what you will, but the notice was posted on the 26th, right?
So
Wayne?
it's
Correct.
June 26th, July 26th? Okay? I just want to make sure we're clear with the dates.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll make sure that Wayne ends up getting a copy of a signed contract with a form of commencement, which is what we all want, and me especially. And then we'll proceed as the contractor goes, and I'll make sure, of course, being I really don't have a choice, I literally live across the street from it, I'll still be doing what I have to be doing, and probably for a little bit after that, maintaining after it's leveled, as you said, in terms of making sure that things are actually leveled out and somebody's cutting the grass, and Wayne will know about that.
Okay, thank you.
Fair enough?
Thank
Fair
you.
enough.
Thank you very
All
much
the
for
best
your
to you.
time.
Thank you. Does anybody else like to discuss this public hearing?
Diane Harris, DeRocher Terrace. Now, this is 60 days down, final. Because if the town takes over and has to circulate for bids, we're looking at the end of the year.
Diane, if it doesn't move forward prior to 60 days, we're not going to wait till the 60th day.
I mean, I do feel-
Wayne needs to see progress.
I got a feeling there is no contract. Good.
We'll find out.
We'll
But
find out.
that's the whole reason my recommendation was to pass this resolution to
Okay.
move forward.
was 60 days. So we're
Yep.
looking at
If
mid-August.
it's not down in 60 days, he should be pretty close to a process. Wayne should have his permit. As Wayne says, he wants to see a demolition permit, he wants to see a contract. If it's 65 days because we're getting close in the contract, we know it's getting done.
But like I said, if the town has to circulate for bids, we're going for October then,
And we'll be faster than that.
not that long.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, because it's, like you said, it's a wonder it hasn't come down.
yeah.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No, can I have a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeffrey?
Whereas by resolution 517-10 of 2017, adopted on May 17, 2017, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie has determined that the premise and the building located at 31 DeRocher Terrace, Poughkeepsie, County of Dutchess, State of New York, bearing grid number 6262-03-315003, the premise, the owner of record being, Kristenia Sotasek, are dangerous, unsafe, and dilapidated, and an imminent threat to the general public. And whereas the town board has adopted the building department's unsafe building investigation report regarding the premise and directed the issuance of an order and notice requiring the demolition or repair of the premises and the setting of a public hearing regarding the order and notice. And whereas said order and notice of public hearing has been served and posted, which order included direction that the required work be immediately and must commence not later than 30 days from the service of the order and notice, and be completed no later than 60 days thereafter. And give further notice that on failure to timely comply, the town board is authorized to repair or demolish and remove the building, or to seek an injunction to compel the owner to do so, and assess the expense thereof against the premise as a special ad valorem levy under Town Law Article 15, and to institute a proceeding to collect the expense of such work. And whereas the town of Poughkeepsie has in order and notice reserved its right to proceed more rapidly with remediation of this site if it is required pursuant to Town Code 71-12. And whereas the legal notice of public hearing was posted on May 22nd, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on May 25th, 2017. And whereas said public hearing has been held this day, now therefore be resolved that in the event that the owner has not timely commenced or completed the repair or demolition, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie authorizes and directs the building department to demolish and remove the building by town employees or by the responsible contractor making the lowest price proposal to the town, consistent with Town Code 71-10, and to therefore assess against the premises and levy and collect the expense of same as provided in Article 15 of Town Law for the levy and collection of a special ad valorem levy, and be it further resolved that this work is an enforcement proceeding and therefore is a Type 2 action which is exempt from environmental review under 6 NYCRR 617.5 C29. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more questions on this one?
Yes, I have, Wayne. It says twice about certain circumstances we can expedite,
Correct.
okay? Other than an emergency like a hurricane or a storm or something, what would be that other, what would be the factor that could have us take it down?
For further collapse,
So if it starts to collapse,
that would, and we do make this is one of those ones that you do a regular stop at. If it appears to be moving any more, I would absolutely come directly to the supervisor.
okay. Just so, I think it's a big safety thing, and I want to make sure that if that happens, we do it as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Wayne, I noticed there was a ramp there, and I'm sure why. Was any violation on a house before, prior?
We didn't look at it penalty-wise that way as enforcement proceedings. I believe there was a permit in there. Originally, I know there was for the back deck that burned off. I believe there was a permit. I don't believe it got CO'd at the end of the day.
It's done.
It was done, and, you can't tell somebody how long it's going to take them to build something sometimes, so.
Yeah. unfortunately, that's, a life was taken from that, so, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We'll move as fast as possible.
That would be 6-0.
Oh, 6-0, sorry. Thanks, Felicia.
No problem.
He's got another one.
Public hearing number 5, 59 Oakdale Avenue. Would make a motion to open that public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody here to discuss 59 Oakdale Avenue? Wayne, you going to discuss 59 Oakdale Avenue?
My first, before we begin, Jim, I have a question for you. We received some documents from the owner of 59 Oakdale. In what she gave me, she asked me to read it into the hearing. Is that allowed?
They certainly can be included in the record. I'm not sure whether you want to read the advertisements that are attached to it, but she does have a letter, and I would ask that the clerk can and will include it in the record, and you might want to review it with the board if they don't have it in their packet.
We all
No, we won't
we all
have
have
Oh,
it.
great. So just ask that it be put in the record, that's all.
Okay.
Pardon, not that's all. That's what you should do, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so you have it. Do you have any questions on the letter itself?
I do. I say, in the letter, I know we've been dealing with this for quite a number of years now. How long has the Bishops actually owned this house?
We'd have to go to the records, the assessor records, to actually know the proper date, but
Well, in general.
clearly,
they've
when I got on site, they were the owners.
Okay, because-
So it's been more than 3 years now.
Because we've been trying to get them, I know we've sent you out there numerous times, you've posted notes on the door, they don't get back to you, we've mailed them letters, so now they're finally coming to us and they want an extension, basically. This wall's been falling down, it is dangerous. I see from their letter, they're saying they have to move neighbors' sheds in order to get access to it. In your opinion, is that something that has to be done? Somebody
It would
encroaching on
make
their
it,
property?
I can say that it would make it easier. I spoke to the owner at 57 and addressed it with him that, I wouldn't be surprised if the owner of 59 had asked you to move your sheds to facilitate getting the wall taken down. Can it be done from their property? Yes, it can be done from their property, meaning the owners of 59 Oakdale.
Does 57 want to move their sheds?
His first indication was he was kind of reluctant to go ahead with doing that, but he didn't rule it out.
See, that could be, they could go through all this, get to 57, I'm not gonna do it today, and the cost goes up, and then we get another letter saying, oh, we can't do it now today. And that's my fear, and I'm not in favor of, this is the first time they've actually notified the town that they wanted to work and get this done. I'm not in favor of going through this timeline that they have. I'm not. I don't think they've worked with us in good faith.
As a code enforcement officer, I can explain to you that, and I'm sure you understand, I've been stymied for 2 years. We've tried to be more above because it was deteriorating. It may have not gotten to a total collapse yet, but we had to employ, an engineer for the town, representing the town, to go there and do things with this. So we got letters from him about what was happening with the wall and what needed to happen. We forwarded that information to the owners, so things could have been moving long before now in a movement of compliance.
Okay.
So the building that you're seeing on the left is 57 Oakdale, and this is the wall on the right side. And this is what we came upon when we answered the complaint call back in 2014. Now, it's already contacted. You can see the lower section of the wall is already starting to rotate and touch their fence on 57 Oakdale. We had issued orders. We had no compliance up to this point. This was a compliance inspection. Nothing's been done. just to check up to see where things are going. We have no movement. As you can tell, that lower section wall is moving out now.
Yeah.
Now, clearly, these were put in at 2 different times. But it's all for the impoundment of a pool that's up on top at 59 Oakdale.
Pool's still there, Wayne?
Oh, yeah.
This is what the people on 57 are doing to help keep that wall from dropping on top of somebody in their yard. This is the back corner. Gets a little odd back here. But what you're seeing with the board there, that's trying to help impound that dirt that's being eroded away. Slowly but surely, and that's what you're seeing. Let's see if I can, yeah, there we go. This whole area up in here is all concrete hanging in the air. The walls are touching the buildings in a couple of places, so this is where, you know, having access back there could certainly help facilitate getting those pieces down and off of their property, meaning the neighbors at 57. This is the western side.
See, the
It's
problem, I'm sorry, the problem with this is if they don't get financing, and they said they don't have the funds right now, this may never get done.
Correct.
And it appears if it collapses, it goes into the neighbor's property, so it's not going to collapse on their own property.
It's not just their property, meaning the owners of 57. It borders on that back corner, that corner right there. This western side is another landowner's property.
So it would affect.
So it can, with this being impounding a 30-foot pool, in-ground pool with all the water in it,
That's going to move too.
that's going to move too.
Yeah.
If that thing really falls and finishes its rotation, it can be disastrous for more than just 2 people.
Tell you, those residents, 57, have been very understanding. I mean, must be really nice
They've
people.
been very good at,
been very patient.
calling and understanding that,
Yeah.
it takes time. That's what happens, with building codes. Some things are not always immediate. So we did bring in Morris Associates, the town representatives, to come and take a look at it. Their engineer looked at it. And I excerpted out of his letter because there was a lot of information in the letter, but you guys had seen the letter as part of the file that I presented. But you can read for yourself what it is. He's talking about a full failure here if nothing's done. Sooner or later, this will fully rotate and that wall will fall. And you can't control hydraulic pressure. We know is one of the most awesome forces in nature.
It's way too close to that house.
What is the town involved with this? Because it's a private properties and stuff. I mean, what do we do?
It's a structure.
Yeah.
And that's one of those classifications for us as a building department. We have to be able to classify a structure for what it is and what its use is. This is a retaining wall structure that is meant to impound earth and water weight.
Right.
No, but my question is, do you pound a house? Do you tell them it's not habitable to live at the house? What do we do? I mean, the guy's refusing. Seems to be 4 years now, right?
Well, he hasn't worked with us at all. He's avoided us.
That's my question.
What we do is, we would do the same thing that we would do with any other structure. We would, with the passing of this and not getting the compliance, we would we would entertain through our engineer to look at it, give us some parameters so that we can go to bid and have the work done. And, put it back on the property like we would do with any other property that we had to take an action on. So it's growing in 16, as you can tell from that fence. Now the pieces aren't touching anymore, and we're gaining a couple of inches here.
Is there runoff from the pool on the higher end that's causing this?
It's
or-
not from the pool, it's just the average sheet flow that happens on property. But that's what a retaining wall does. In fact, if it's installed properly, it doesn't allow the erosion to happen. It confines it. Now, that's over your head. When I stand there at that location, that is over my head by over a foot. This was the survey. We were going to talk about that, but since the letter that the owner had sent, she's accepted that it is on her property.
Oh.
That was a point of contention. She had the survey done, and then she forwarded us the survey, and clearly we had a number of people look at it and came to the agreement that for the town's purposes, it's clearly on their lawn, on their property. Except here in the back, on that little corner on the west side. And that was just, it looks like it was just how it was put together at that time. Maybe they didn't have stakes in the ground, we don't know.
The pool that's above this,
Correct.
if this wall does collapse, the structure of the pool is vulnerable.
Can collapse as well, yes.
And so in addition to the wall collapse, it's a 30-foot pool, 26,000 gallons of water.
At least in that neighborhood, yes. So February, following up, because we had given some dates to the owner back in October to, that they needed to move forward with this now. We've wasted enough time, and let's get something done. And so we went back and check up, and this was the checkup in February of this year.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing more movement of the upper piece.
Is there anything they could do right now temporarily in good faith to shore this up a little bit?
Not without the owners of 57 allowing to have the sheds moved. It would be easiest to get it from that as a grade level attack. To take that thing down, literally, there's got to be some impoundment.
Right.
And it can't just be done at one time, meaning you can't just come up and go boom and drop the whole thing. It just can't work like that. Yet, as you're taking out, you need to be working on stabilizing that earth behind it. So it's not that easy. And in the letter, as you guys have seen, they did contact an engineering firm to, start specking out things. I mean, it's not what we would accept to be able to issue a permit on building a retaining wall of that nature, but there would have to be a whole lot more information that was supplied. How it's gonna be taken down, how it's gonna be replaced.
Well, I think we should move forward with the town taking over this project, and if their contractor comes in and says, hey, we can do it, and we're willing to work with you, we could always let them, but I don't.
Michael Fuller, I think the same as the other category. We have to move forward. If they want to come forward and start working on it, that's fine. If not, we're going to have to do something to correct it, because it looks at pictures, the other house is in jeopardy also, something coming down.
It's basically the same question I had, Wayne, in the last issue. This looks like exigent circumstances. This looks like if we don't act.
Something's going to happen.
Our law says start in 30 days, finish in 60 days. This doesn't look like it's going to be up there in 2 weeks. And if that collapse facilitates the collapse of the pool, and it happens at night, any number of things could happen. Does this qualify for the exigent circumstances where we can go in now?
I would I would want to consult with the engineer that the town utilized to give the information on it. A second opinion on that right now. There's
we passed
ways
this-
of following this, meaning, movement-wise. Yes, we established in pictures that the wall is moving and the gaps are growing and those kinds of things, but there's actually tools that you can use to be able to identify what its movement rate is, which I think would be, probably be something that we would want to at least have as part of an engineering evaluation.
I think, I agree with the supervisor and the councilman that we should pass this tonight. But I would ask that whatever we do it right now. And if that wall is moving like that, then I think that's enough.
Yeah, but the homeowner only has 30 days. And I mean, they've shown us nothing so far, so another 30 days, we're going to take this over anyways. Because they have to show you something in good faith that they're actually moving ahead and working on this.
Correct.
Right. And I
The
understand,
maximum would be 30 days from now?
yes.
If they do nothing, we're gonna start something.
Yeah,
Or posted it.
and I've already spoken with the owner, Ms. Bishop, on the phone about this whole thing, and that, we need a contract and a demo permit
Yeah.
to start this action. That's kind of our litmus test for you're going to do something with this.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't have confidence in the timetable set out before us either, that they'll actually follow through and have it done by October. So they've got 30 days to show you something.
Correct.
And if they don't, we take over.
Anybody else that would like to discuss this public hearing? If not, I'll make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Carlos?
Whereas by Resolution 517, number 11 of 2017, adopted on May 17, 2017, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has determined that the premises, buildings located at 59 Oakdale Avenue, Poughkeepsie, County of Dutchess, State of New York, bearing grid number 6162-10-373608, the premise, the owner of record being Avis Bishop, are dangerous, unsafe, and dilapidated, and an imminent threat to the general public. And whereas the town board has adopted the building plans, the building department's unsafe building investigation report regarding the premise, and directed the issuance of an order and notice requiring the demolition or repair of the premise, and the setting of a public hearing regarding the order and notice. And whereas said order and notice of a public hearing has been served and posted, which order included a direction that the required work begin immediately and must be commenced no later than 30 days from the date of service of the notice, and be completed no later than 60 days thereafter, and gave further notice that on failure to timely comply, the town board is authorized to repair or demolish and remove the building, or to seek an injunction to compel the owner to do so, and assess the expenses thereof against the premise as a special ad valorem levy under the town law, Article 15, and to institute a proceeding to collect the expenses of such work. And whereas the town of Poughkeepsie has, in the order and notice, reserved its right to proceed more rapidly with the remediation of the site if it is required to do pursuant to Town Code 7112. And whereas the legal notice of a public hearing was posted on May 22nd, 2017, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on May 25th, 2017, and whereas the public hearing has been held on this date, now be it resolved that in the event the owner has not timely commenced or completed the repair or demolition, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie authorizes and directs the building department to demolish and remove the building by town employees or by the responsible contractor, making the lowest price proposal to the town consistent with Town Code Section 71, Sub 10, and to thereafter assess against the premise and levy and collect the expenses of same as provided in Article 15 of the town law for levy and collection of a special ad valorem levy. And be it further resolved that this work is an enforcement proceeding, therefore a type 2 action, which is exempt from the environmental review under 6 New York CRR 617.5, paragraph C, section 29. So moved.
Second?
We have a motion second. Any more questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Good job, Wayne, on everything tonight.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of our public hearings for tonight. We have a rather short agenda. Item number 6 is cancellation of purchase of contract for White House property. 7, county amendments to the guide for Greenway connections. Comptroller designated minimum 4 hours to court attendance. 9, Recreation Department purchase of a truck. 10, supervised execution of the county's mapping boundaries agreements for the census. 11, bid for the Arlington Sewer Treatment Plant for support pipes. 12, bid advertisement for lateral tap repairs. 13, certificate of attendance Carl Whitehead. 14, supervisor's execution of a letter agreement with the PBA. 15, special consent item number 1, which I don't have. Let's just call a special meeting for next week. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules to discuss any item on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here who'd like to discuss any item on the agenda so far? Anybody? Last chance? If not, can I make a motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Savone.
Be it resolved, Town of Poughkeepsie Town Board does hereby authorize the supervisor to rescind the contract for the potential sale of the White House town property with Danielle DiCarlo based on the inability to come to a final contract terms acceptable to the town and to return the purchaser's deposit pursuant to the terms of the contract. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any question on this one?
Too bad.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Mr. Lepore, number 7.
Yes, sorry about that. Amendments for the Greenway Connections Greenway Compact Program and guides for Dutchess County communities, adding 7 new greenways guides. Whereas the Hudson River Valley Greenway Act of 1991 has a legislative goal to establishment of the Greenway Compact, a process of voluntary cooperation among the communities of the Hudson River region, and whereas the town of Poughkeepsie adopted Greenway Connections by local law and joined the Greenway Compact on August 2nd, 2000, and whereas the Greenway Act or the adoption of Greenway Connections do not supersede or change the powers that the state has granted municipal governments under the New York Constitution, the Municipal Home Rule law of various municipal enabling acts, and whereas the local law adopting Greenway Connections contain a provision allowing subsequent amendments to document by resolution of local legislative body, and whereas after multiple local presentations and public comments, the Hudson River Valley Greenway Communities Council has approved 7 new greenways guides to be included in Greenway Connections, centers and green spaces, slow, safer streets, rural roads, building bicycle networks, convenience stores with gas pumps, recycling and waste collection, and green infrastructure. And whereas the Greenway guides are entitled optional in nature and to be considered only when local officials in discriminatory decision think they may be appropriate, and whereas the town board in town of Poughkeepsie as lead agency has received the next draft short environmental assessment form has determined that these amendments to the Green Connections will not have any significant adversary effect on the environmental and therefore warrant a negative declaration under Article 8 of the State Environmental Conservation Law. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the town board, town of Poughkeepsie, hereby adopts an ex-seeker negative declaration for the proposed action, and the town board of town of Poughkeepsie adopts the amendments to Greenway Connections to include 7 new greenway guides, center and green spaces, slower safety street, roller roads, building bicycle networks, convenience store and gas pumps, recycling and waste collection, and green infrastructure.
Second.
We have motion second. Any questions on this?
No, this just lines up very nicely with what we've already done in the town of Arlington and the pedestrian survey there, so.
And it's a
Good
guide.
thing.
It's something that open a book and gives us a chance to, different avenue to look at. And they haven't sent many changes since 2000, but I thought it was just something positive to put in there.
Yeah, I just want to, the map does not doesn't explain, but the 7 new locations,
Not locations, Joe, 7 new things, like
The new-
slow and
new
safer
agreement,
streets.
yeah.
If you compare, like Ann said, to the Arlington.
Yeah.
It's their view of the way things should look going forward and say, it's more like a guideline that we can use.
Yeah, it's recommendations of what we could do with our streets.
right.
Yeah. To fit into a greener lifestyle.
All those in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town of Poughkeepsie Justice Court has court attendants who maintain order and decorum in the courtroom and are a necessary part of proper functioning of the town of Poughkeepsie Justice Court. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie authorizes the comptroller to pay a minimum of 4 hours of compensation per court session. So moved.
Second.
The motion second, any questions on this one?
Yes, I have a couple. I've outlined for this board my concern multiple times over the situation that we have there. I don't think we should be accepting or increasing pay or anything until some of those basic concerns are addressed. And I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this, set it aside, and if we need to, since it's a personnel matter, we could go into an executive session. I could re-outline my concerns. But, so first I make a motion to adjourn this until we can come to a better determination.
It's my opinion that we should move forward because they're getting 5 hours now. And this is compensating them, and the other issues you have addressed, you may find one of them further on in this agenda.
I see one for the addition of a police officer, a second police officer in the court. That doesn't address the concerns that I've outlined with respect to how we're doing that over there, the function of it. And I don't think we're going to pay them 5. I thought they said 4.
It is 4, they're getting 5 now.
They're getting
5, we're actually taking an hour back.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that, but I don't think we should be doing anything with remuneration until such time as we're sure that the way we're dealing with that process over there is correct legally and everything is okay.
I think this is one of my opinion is this is a start one to start correcting some of the problems over, and this is one of the problems I think we need to correct. This isn't going to affect the other issues, and we are working on the other issues.
It's taking
I don't
away,
know of any work on the other issue.
overcompensating right now by bringing it back, and we're also adding an officer for safety right now, and we can certainly address those issues you have. I think we have to do this now, because we're overpaying by the 5 hours, now they're getting the 4, and by adding an officer, we're adding safety over there. I think, and we can certainly address the manpower issues and what you have. We can certainly
It's
work
not a
on it.
matter of manpower, it's the
How-
type
the
of staffing,
functionality.
how we're doing it. It's got some real problems, and I wanted to bring that up and have that repaired before we even thought about this.
Well, I think this is really not tied into it. This is to straighten up an issue that's a payment issue.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think we should move forward with this, and we can talk about your issues, Bill, and we can get that worked out.
And you can sit down when we discuss that.
All right, then I'll
Yeah.
I'll remove my motion to adjourn this.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Dan, or is this me?
Oh, I can read again. Whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie Recreation Department wishes to purchase a 2017 Ford F350 pickup truck with a plow, now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee to purchase one 2017 Ford F350 pickup truck with a plow from Henderson Ford, Webster, New York, under the state bid at a total price of $27,908.81. And be further resolved, the contract is exempt from the town's purchasing policy because it is a state bid contract, and it is an equipment purchase, which is a type 2 action requiring no secret review. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any question on this one?
Yeah, this is an excellent price, you know. Tom, are they bringing the truck to us
Yeah.
from Rochester? Going to us?
Yeah.
Are they going to roll up the miles? No.
Anyways, the current truck too is very old, and I mean, it's a marvel it's lasted as long as it has, so it's definitely time.
Yep, it's a good price with the plow. I
Yeah,
think it's a good deal.
And this truck does a lot of the plowing too during the winter to get the parks cleared, so very good.
Brian did a lot of work on digging with Tom to get this right price.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved that pursuant to the inquiry from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the supervisor's consent to the county request that the U.S. Census Bureau conform to the mapping boundaries it uses to the local real property tax service mapping boundaries as set forth in the annex correspondence and charts received on April 18th, 2017. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Number 11, whereas bids for the Arlington wastewater treatment plant repairs to pipe supports were opened on May 12, 2017, and whereas the lowest responsible bidder submitting the required security was Blue Heron Construction at a bid price of $223,228. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Blue Heron for the work above work at the above price upon receipt of all required insurance, bonds, and other submissions. Or be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie, for the reason discussed this day, does hereby reject all bids and direct that the work be re-advertised. So moved.
Second.
Anybody got any questions on this one? I do. We put this out to bid early on in the year. Came back, we had two bidders. One of them way under bid, didn't come with all the proper documents and was dropped. It's my opinion that this bid, being that we bid it out the height of the construction season, this is the only bid we got. I'd like to take it and bid it out more at the end of the season with all the work that's going on down the sewer plant right now. The tunnel they're working in, a lot of our sewer work and the upgrade is being done in that tunnel. So I think that being we bid out the height of the season, we only got one bid. We should wait till the fall when the project is almost done. We get a better chance to get a better bidder for some winter work. We may come out with a better price on that.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
So we're doing the second, be it resolved.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Second motion to pass is resolved. The town board discussed this hereby reject all bids and directed the work be re-advertised later on in the season. So moved.
Second.
Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the town clerk to advertise for bids for the CIPP lateral tap repairs 2017 pursuant to plans and specifications prepared, which plans and specifications will be available on June 12, 2017 in the office of the town clerk, and the bid opening will be held on June 28, 2017 at 11 a.m. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby reserve the right to accept or reject all bids in whole or in part, and be it further resolved that the Town Board does hereby determine that this is a Type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Motion second on that one? Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the certificate of attendance for Carl Whitehead from Dutchess County Planning Federation for the course entitled Hot Button Land Uses, which is attached, and be it further resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the certificate of attendance for Carl Whitehead from New York State Historic Preservation, SHPO, for the course entitled How Preservation is a Sound Investment for the Town and Business Development, a copy which is also attached. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one?
Yeah, I was with him at the New York State Historical Presentation from SHPO, so I can verify he was there.
Thank you.
Stayed awake, he did a good job.
Good deal. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 14, be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby verify the supervisor's execution of a letter agreement, a copy of which is attached with Constitution amendment to the collective bargain agreement with the Town of Poughkeepsie PBA dated January 1st, 2013 through December 31st, 2018, allowing PBA members to volunteer to work as a second court office during any session of the Town of Poughkeepsie Justice Court. So moved.
A motion and a second. Any questions on that one? And as Bill brought up, this puts a second officer in, one with the judge and one in the, I'll call it the waiting area out front. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Is that Mr. Safone who seconded that?
Yes.
Thank you. Pardon me.
passes 6-0.
Okay. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit. Call, special meeting. And be further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Motion is second. Any question on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
We've come to the end of our agenda. Just so people know, county legislator, you
Is somebody going to read SC1?
want to read it first? Oh, I was going to tell them I was doing it. Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead. I got it. I'll read it. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby call a special meeting on Wednesday, June 14, 7 p.m. for the Committee of the Whole, Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, for the following. Appoint a county legislator. 2, set date for public hearing on local law, zoning administrator, powers to building inspector. 3, any other matters that may legally become the board. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions on those?
Yes, just, I assume it would be okay to add the Riccobono easement contract, that person.
Absolutely. I have no problem with that. And I don't think my fellow councilwoman at the other end has a problem with that.
No problem.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. County legislator appointment is County Legislator District 1 resigned last week. And due to the rules of the county charter, being that District 1 sits wholly in the town, it sits upon the town board to appoint county legislator replacement until election at the end of the year. And we let out in Poughkeepsie Journal to be known that county legislator had resigned, and that we will be accepting applications until the end of business day on Friday, at which time I'll contact all the board members, make sure they all get copies of resumes, and depending on how many we get, we'll hold a special session where we can each, one-on-one or 2-to-1, and sit down with the person and decide, and we'll appoint them. We have 20 days to appoint them due to the charter. If not, it goes to a special election. So that's why we want to move it forward, because otherwise, the 21st or next meeting, like within 24 hours of the deadline. So we figure we can get moving. I've gotten one resume, a couple inquiries that didn't live in the district so far, but so far we have one resume. So on Friday, after we get whatever resume we get, I'll contact everybody and let them know they're in their boxes.
And we'll do the interviews next week.
Prior to the meeting. Mr. Nelson?
Did you decide, pardon me, to ask for a resolution confirming, ratifying the posting of the notice requiring the resumes be received by Friday?
No.
Pardon me?
No, I didn't.
Would you like to?
Yes. Make a resolution posting that the resumes be accepted by Friday, 4 p.m.
Put the right words in about because of the.
Yeah. Yep. All those in favor?
Supervisor had to move ahead on this.
Yeah.
So,
It was a little bit of a rush with the date. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed 6-0. We've come to the end of our town board meeting. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for public comment on any item in the town of Poughkeepsie.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to say anything at all? Anybody? If not, I make a motion to resume the rules.
Marlene wants to say.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Board adjourned.